Hello everyone, and welcome back to our C# and WinForms 2026 tutorial series. This is the final part of the entire series. And today, we are building something special. A complete snake game from scratch inside Windows Forms. This project combines everything we learned throughout the last 21 parts. Variables, loops, methods, events, timers, lists, controls, file handling, drawing, UI design, and real application structure. So if you made it this far into the series, seriously, congratulations. Most people start learning programming. Very few actually finish a complete learning journey. But you did. And today we are using all that knowledge to create a real desktop game together. By the end of this video, you will have a fully working snake game built completely in C# and WinForms. Let's get started. Let's get started. First, open Visual Studio 2026. Create a new Windows Forms app project. Name the project Snake Game. Make sure you are targeting NET 10. Now open Solution Explorer. We have Program, CS and Form 1. Rename Form 1 to Game Form. Now our main form is called Game Form, CS. Open Program, CS. We do not need to change anything here. It simply runs our game form automatically. Now switch back to Game Form. Open the Designer view. We are now building the full user interface step by step. First, drag a tab control onto the form. Set the name to tab, control, main. Set doc to fill. Now create 3 tabs. The first tab is called Tab Game with the text Game. The second tab is called Tab High Scores with the text High Scores. The third tab is called Tab Settings with the text Settings. Now open the Game tab. Drag a panel onto the tab. Name it Panel, Game. Set doc to fill. Set the background color to black. This panel will become our game area. Now add a label onto the panel. Name it Label, Score. Set the text to score :0. Dock it to the top. Now move to the High Scores tab. Add a Data Grid View. Name it Data Grid View Scores. Set doc to fill. Now create 2 columns. The first column is for the player name. The second column is for the score. Now add 2 buttons at the bottom. The first button is called Button Save. Set the text to save. The second button is called Button Load. Set the text to load. Now open the Settings tab. Add a combo box. Name it Combo Box Speed. Add 3 items. Slow, medium, fast. Now add a check box. Name it Check Box Walls. Set the text to enable walls. Game over. Perfect. Our interface is finished. Now switch to the code view of game form. CS. Above the constructor, we now create our game variables. We create a timer called game timer, a list of points called snake, a point called food, an integer called score, a random object called RND, and we also create a direction enum for movement. Now inside the constructor, after initialize component, we initialize everything. First, enable key preview so the form can detect key presses. Now create the timer. Set the interval to 100 milliseconds. Connect the timer tick event to update game. Next, connect the key down event to game form underscore key down. Connect the combo box selection event. Connect the save and load buttons. And finally connect the paint event of panel game. At the end of the constructor, call start game. Now we create the start game method. This method resets the entire game. Clear the snake list. Add the starting position. Reset the direction. Reset the score. Update the score label. Spawn the food. And finally start the timer. Now we create the spawn food method. This method randomly places food on the game grid. We divide the panel size into 20 pixel blocks so the snake and food align perfectly. Next comes the drawing system. Inside the paint event, we draw the snake using green rectangles. Then we draw the food using a red circle. And now we arrive at the heart of the game. The update game method. This is our main game loop. Every timer tick moves the snake. We calculate a new head position based on the current direction. Then we insert the new head into the snake list. Next we check if the snake touched the food. If yes, we increase the score. Update the score label. And spawn new food. Otherwise we remove the tail segment so the snake keeps its size. After movement and food logic, we check for game over. If the player dies, we stop the timer. Show a game over message. Ask the player for a name. And insert the score into the data grid view. Then we restart the game. Finally, we refresh the panel using invalidate so everything redraws smoothly. Now let's create the isGameOver method. First we check wall collisions. If walls are enabled and the snake touches the border, the game ends. If walls are disabled, the snake wraps around the screen instead. Then we check self-collision using a loop through all snake parts. If the head touches the body, the game is over. Next we create keyboard controls. Inside game form _ key down, we detect arrow keys. Up changes the direction upward. Down changes the direction downward. Left changes the direction left. Right changes the direction right. We also prevent instant reverse movement so the snake cannot directly move backwards into itself. Now we implement difficulty settings. Inside the combo box event, we change the timer interval. Slow uses 200 milliseconds. Medium uses 100 milliseconds. Fast uses 50 milliseconds. This changes the entire game speed instantly. Now we add save and load functionality for high scores. The Save button opens a save file dialog. Then we write every DataGridView row into a CSV file. The Load button opens an Open File dialog. Then it reads the CSV file and restores all high scores back into the table. Alright everyone. Our snake game is now fully working. But before we finish this project completely, I want to do something really important. A real developer challenge. Because in real software development, things are never perfect on the first try. Even professional developers run into bugs, visual glitches, and gameplay problems. And learning how to find problems is just as important as learning how to write code. So now it's your turn. I added several hidden issues into the project. Pause the video. Run the game. Test everything carefully. And see if you can find all the problems before I reveal the solutions. We have multiple issues hidden inside the game. Try to discover them all. And once you've found them, come back and we'll fix them together like real developers. Good luck. Issue 1, Arrow keys change tab pages. Alright. Let's start with the first issue. When we press the left or right arrow keys, something strange happens. Instead of only moving the snake, the tab control itself also reacts. And the selected tab changes. This happens because WinForms controls also process keyboard navigation internally. So the tab control is still receiving the arrow key input. We need to stop that behavior. Inside GameForm_key, down. At the very top of the method, we add e.handled equals true. And e.suppress key press equals true. These two lines tell Windows Forms, do not pass this key event to other controls. Now only our game logic receives the arrow keys. Run the game again. Perfect. Now the snake moves correctly without changing tabs. Issue 2, game flickering. Now let's fix the second issue. You may notice that the snake and food flicker while moving. This is a very common problem in WinForms game development. The panel redraws too often directly on screen. So we need something called double buffering. Double buffering draws everything in memory first. Then displays the final image smoothly. Inside the GameForm constructor, we now enable double buffering for panel, game. We use reflection because the double buffered property of panel is protected. Now run the game again. And immediately you can see the difference. Movement is now much smoother. No more flickering. This single improvement makes the game feel dramatically more professional. Issue 3, score label invisible. Now the third issue. Our score label technically works, but we can barely see it. Why? Because the label text is dark. And the game background is black. So the text blends into the background. This one is actually very easy to fix. Open the designer. Select label, score. Change the 4-color property to white. Then increase the font size slightly. Maybe use a bold font for better readability. Run the game again. Now the score is clearly visible during gameplay. Small UI improvements like this make a huge difference in user experience. Issue 4, no pause system. Now the final issue. This one is extremely important for gameplay. Right now, the game never pauses. So if we want to change settings or switch tabs, the snake keeps moving. That means the player can die while navigating the interface. So let's implement a real pause system. First, at the top of the class, create a new Boolean variable called is_paused. Set it initially to false. Now inside GameForm_key, down. After suppress, key, press. We check if the space key was pressed. If space is pressed, we call toggle, pause. Then immediately return. Next, if the game is paused, we stop all movement input. Now let's create the toggle pause method. Inside this method, we invert the Boolean. If the game is paused, stop the timer. Otherwise restart the timer. Then refresh the panel. But we can make this even better. Inside panel game_paint. After drawing the food, we now draw a semi-transparent dark overlay. Then we draw large white text saying, paused. Now run the game. Press space. Beautiful. The game freezes. A dark overlay appears. And the player instantly understands the game is paused. Press space again. And the game resumes. This makes the entire project feel much more polished and complete. And this right here is one of the most important lessons in programming. Building something is only half the job. Testing, debugging, improving, and polishing the user experience is what transforms a beginner project into real software. And honestly, look how far you came. From basic variables and buttons, all the way to building a complete desktop game with settings, high scores, collision systems, drawing logic, file handling, pause systems, and debugging. That is an incredible achievement. So seriously, congratulations for finishing this full WinForms journey. And this is still only the beginning. There are many more advanced projects, experiments, AI tools, Windows tricks, games, and modern C# tutorials coming soon. So if this series helped you, write a comment below. Tell me which part was your favorite. And if you know someone learning C#, share this series with them. Because finishing a full programming course like this can genuinely change someone's future. Thank you so much for coding along with me. And I'll see you in the next project. Happy coding!